All right, you guys, I think we're live. If we are live right now, I have to set some stuff up on the computer. But before we even do that, we have Tropical Storm Bertha that has newly formed in the Gulf. We're going to be talking about where it's going to go, who's going to be impacted, and pretty much anywhere along the Gulf Coast where we're going to be seeing impacts. We're already seeing impacts right now in parts of Florida. Obviously, not tropical storm conditions, but obviously seeing some rain. So we're going to be talking about all of that. But because it's my first time in a million years live, I have to do a couple of things here to make sure that I can see what's going on. Give me just 1 second because I can't even see the chat right now. I'm opening the chat now. Is it opening? Girl, I've been waiting on your input, Miss Peyton 29. Listen, I miss you. Okay, I miss everybody. Thank you so much for being in this live stream. Okay, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about if this is gonna become a hurricane. We are gonna be seeing impacts and a landfall in the Gulf Coast. So we're gonna be talking about that. Flooding is gonna be possible as well. Okay. Hey girl, glad to see you. It's been a minute. Listen, Aaron, thank you for being here. Y'all are so awesome. Literally, I'm so thankful for you guys. You guys are like my day ones. Um, I'm close to Florida, Georgia line, and we're feeling it here. Yeah, you could even see it right there on the satellite. All of the cloud cover that we have along that area already. So yeah, Platinum Swords, what's going on? Oh, she says that she misses me too. Listen, I'm glad to be back. A lot of stuff has transpired. That's why I've been in and out. But you guys already know I'm gonna be here for hurricane season, okay? Even if it's not too crazy of a hurricane season, we're gonna be talking about everything because it's supposed to be a below average season. And that's kind of why we're gonna talk about that now, about with Bertha. It kind of depends on where it goes. If it stays further south, it's going to be on the stronger side, but if it goes further towards the north, then it's going to be on the weaker side. So we're going to get into all of that. Owl on the prowl. Hello, Jay. Good to see you. Good to see you guys. I'm so happy. Literally. Aaron, I know. Every time you see me, see, now we're like, the background is my kitchen. That's why I always have a new set. Okay, cool. Let me look it up. Thomasville, Georgia. Okay, we're gonna remember. I remember that you are in Georgia. Let me see. Why can't I move this? I don't know why I can't move the. Hold up. Okay, live chat. Awesome. It's not letting me move it. This is weird. Okay, hold on. I'm using OBS right now. Like I said, since this is my first time back, that's why it's a little. By the way, can you guys let me know if I'm lagging? That's like the most important thing because where I live now, it's one internet for everybody. So if your internet is messed up, you can't get a better one. Okay? So that's the problem that I have with this one. Okay, hold on. Fort Myers has just been windy. Yeah, and you're going to see some rain in and out. The chance of seeing some flash flooding is going to be with us, unfortunately, along the entire Gulf Coast. And that also does include a place like Fort Myers, unfortunately. Okay, cool. It's making me log in again to my... I'm not lagging at all? Okay, perfect. Amazing. That's what I wanted to see. Because I was like, one internet for everybody? I don't know if that's great. Because if it's too many devices connected, then what do we do if it starts to slow down? Okay. Skip. Okay, let's see. It's letting me pull up the YouTube live control panel, which is what I needed. And then we'll be able to rock and roll. Select stream. It says, why does it say I have no current stream? It's probably not even on the correct. Switch account. Switch to this one. Okay, guys, I'm just doing some logistical things really quickly, and then we'll get into it. Okay, cool. Now it let me connect. Okay, perfect. All right, guys, listen. Thank you guys for being patient with me. Okay. All I need now is to be able to just move the chat screen because... Okay. I think it's fine. But it would be ideal if I could move it over. Okay, I was able to move over the live panel and then we can move on. Okay, let me see something. This might mess up for like a second. Okay, that's not that bad. Okay, so let's just do this because that way I'll be able to see the chat right in front of me. I think that's better. Okay, and then we'll do the stream here. Okay, perfect. Anyways, thank you guys for being here. Make them kick everyone off. You're the most important. Thank you so much. I can't kick. There's a whole building. Imagine, I can't make everybody get off the internet. But if it starts lagging, please let me know. Now we can jump into it because obviously there's a lot to talk about with this new system. Okay. So I know that they were saying that this hurricane season was supposed to be on the lower side in terms of the amount of activity that we're expecting, right? And that is because we're going to have increased wind shear in the Atlantic basin, which is where we get all of the majority of the storms that hit the United States, obviously come from the Atlantic basin. And we're expecting more shear. What does that mean? Basically, the environment isn't going to be as favorable for hurricanes and tropical storms to develop. However, the waters in the Gulf are extremely hot. Okay. So being that that's the case, something can kind of pop off here. And I feel like if we continue to see activity during this hurricane season, it's probably going to come from the Gulf. Not that it can't come from the Atlantic or from Africa at all, but the environment is going to continue to be not that favorable for that to happen. So it's mostly going to be these type of systems that we're seeing here with Tropical Storm Bertha that could affect the United States. Okay. So this is the satellite right now. Obviously, you can see that the majority of the cloud cover over the states is generally over Florida, over Georgia. Like you were saying, you were seeing some impacts, right? So I guess I'm gonna just be missing you all hurricane season. No, I'm back. Okay. Listen, Miss Peyton 29, I'm back. Okay, we're here. We're here. Listen, it's just that they're saying that it's not going to be as active, but I have a feeling that we're going to see some Gulf systems and they could impact the U.S. Okay, so right now we're seeing the majority of the cloud cover related to this system, obviously over the Gulf, but over the states, it's really Florida and Georgia seeing the majority of it, a little bit over Louisiana as well, and some of that cloud cover is producing some rain, right? So that's first of all. Second of all, if we take a look at the satellite, okay, if we take a look at the satellite, because of the wind shear, you're going to notice even though the center is right here, right where you see this red icon, it's going to be an asymmetrical system because of the unfavorable environment that it's in. You're going to notice that the majority of the activity related to this system is towards the south. Okay, so it's kind of packed towards the south a bit more than towards the north, even though, like I said, we do see that cloud cover over here in Florida and Georgia. And obviously the majority of the tropical storm force winds, tropical storm conditions are mostly over the Gulf as well. And that's what we're expecting for today as we head into tomorrow. By tomorrow morning, we could start to see some more activity ramp up over the states, but for the most part, it's over the Gulf right now. Cisco Diaz, hi Jessica, good evening. Good evening. Thank you for joining me. I'm really thankful that you guys are here. You have no idea, literally, because I'd be disappearing and then we're back and then you guys be here for me. So thank you so much for being here for me. Okay, look. Okay, where is that, by the way? Navarre? I hope I'm saying that right. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the radar activity that we have right now. So you are going to notice that the rain, there is some rain reaching Florida, the Gulf Coast here, and reaching into Georgia, right? Like my friend that said that lives on the Georgia-Florida coastline, right? So the system is all the way over here. The tropical storm force winds are concentrated over the Gulf, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to see rain. So I'm going to zoom in here. Basically, if you live in Tampa Bay, you're seeing intermittent rain. For areas a bit further towards the south, Sarasota, for example, seeing some of that rain right now too. And then if we move towards the north here, we're talking about places like Apalachicola, Tallahassee, obviously Georgia, seeing some of that activity as well. So it is raining at this time due to this system already. And because this is going to be kind of a slow moving system, I am a little bit concerned with the flood threat that we could potentially be seeing with this system, because it's going to kind of be moving slow today into tomorrow before it picks up some speed. So because it's going to kind of just be hanging out right here and kind of just throwing rain bands our way, yeah, we're going to have some rain accumulating. That's number one. And then number two, maybe that brings us that risk of seeing some flash flooding. Okay, I see. So between Pensacola and Destin. Okay, I got you. So where, Cisco, remind me, where do you live again? What state do you live in? But yeah, that whole area is continuing to see rain. It's nothing too crazy, but like I mentioned, because this is slow moving, kind of just throwing up rain over here. um that's why we do have that risk. Now, another thing that I did want to mention, obviously, really quickly, there is somewhat of a tornado outbreak going on right now for areas further towards the north, towards Wisconsin and Michigan. If I do see a brand new tornado warning, I'm going to be mentioning them, just because obviously that's a very important thing. But obviously we're focusing mostly on Tropical Storm Bertha during this live stream. And speaking of those warnings, I do want to put them up here so that I'm aware of that as well. Right now, there's actually 2 tornado warnings that are currently in effect. Let me see if really quickly if we can go over them now that we do have the radar turned on. So right now, it's mostly in Wisconsin. So if I pause the timeline, so just really quickly, if you do live in Wisconsin, we do have some tornado warnings that are currently in effect. This is unrelated, obviously, to the tropical storm, which is mostly what we're going to be focusing on today. But right now, we do have a tornado warning that's going to be in effect here until 9:45 p.m. Central Time for places like Rochlot, I think that's Iola and Clintonville. And then we have one a bit further towards the north as well for Tigerton and Big Falls. And this one is going to be in effect until 9 p.m. Central Time, okay? So we'll be taking a look at those tornado warnings as we go and as we talk about this system, Bertha, okay? Second named storm of the season so far. So coming back over here to talk about the activity. Right now, the system does have 40-mile-per-hour winds. So it's not crazy strong, right? It's just a tropical storm that has formed over the Gulf of Mexico. And it's moving very slowly. It's moving at 3 miles per hour, which, like I said, increases the risk of seeing some flash flooding. Okay, and if anybody has any questions, by the way, you guys can go ahead and ask that in the chat. But yeah, it's moving pretty slowly right now, 3 miles per hour. It's mostly moving towards the west. That's the direction that it's currently moving in. And it's going to continue to move towards the west. So this is the track that we're expecting with this system. Okay, I will say that it has moved a little, slightly towards the south. Right now, this isn't completely updated. I don't know why, but the storm track has moved a bit towards the south, and we're mostly, I think mostly the impacts in terms of the strongest impacts are going to be towards the Louisiana area as a tropical storm. That's what we're expecting at this time. But if the track continues to move towards the south, I am leaving some room for it to be on the stronger side. Okay, so that's what we're expecting in terms of impact. So right now, not really expecting it to become a hurricane, but like I mentioned, you can't rule anything out. That's why it's important to subscribe so that you can be updated anytime we have updates with this system. And things could change very quickly. They could change by tomorrow. They could change by Wednesday. They could change by later on tonight, right? So that's why it's important to be on top of this. But yeah, we're expecting for this to move towards the Louisiana area. Um, Let me see. So I really don't like how this cone doesn't show the time on it. So I might have to bring you guys over here to Google Chrome so that we can talk about it, because I don't like how this doesn't show it. Give me 1 second. Those waters are hot. Yeah, they're very hot. That's why that's the part where it is, pretty favorable for development. Let's see. Okay, so this is a better graphic that I'm going to show you guys really quickly. Let's see if I can bring it up here. Okay, cool. So I'm going to move this over so that you guys see. So so it's going to be moving really slowly. So it's kind of just going to be right below the Florida panhandle and right below Alabama all the way until we get into Wednesday afternoon. Then it'll start to pick up speed a little bit as we head into Thursday, right? But this is what we're expecting right now, potentially reaching the Louisiana coastline here as a tropical storm. And that would be Thursday early morning. So Wednesday night into Thursday early morning. And that's why this entire area does have that tropical storm watch that is currently in effect from the Florida panhandle all the way into the Louisiana coastline as well. After that, it is going to be interacting with land. So that's why we're expecting it to actually weaken as we head into Thursday, Friday, and even into Saturday. So that's the thing about this, right? Let me come back. I just realized that the mic was off. I'm sorry. Anyways, as I was saying, um, so this is, uh-oh, where did you go? I'm here. Don't worry. We're back. I'm sorry about that. So anyway, so the track did move towards, a bit towards the south, right? I know it says the audio is gone. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that, you guys. But we're here. We're here. Anyways, listen, I haven't slept, y'all. So don't judge me, okay? Let me know if you hear me now. Anyways, so this will continue to move towards this. If this continues to move towards the south in terms of the track, right, it's going to be interacting less with land. If it interacts less with land, it's going to have the potential to be on the stronger side, right? And so that's what we're going to be watching for over the next few days as this thing kind of meanders. And because it's going to be, I don't want to say stationary, but somewhat stationary, right? Instead of moving quickly, it's going to have time. We're going to have a lot of time for this to change its mind, basically. So that's what I'm saying. But as of right now, I think it's just going to be a tropical storm. I think that the max intensity it's not going to be too bad, right around 50 miles per hour. So obviously, that could obviously cause some damage, obviously, for areas that get the center of this system, right? Or the eye of the storm, right? So that's where we could be seeing some damages, but it's not a hurricane. We're not expecting anything too crazy with this system so far. Like I mentioned, that could change. If we zoom in very closely, I think areas that could be seeing potentially the center of this system move over would be right here in Louisiana, southeastern Louisiana, Port Sulphur, Houma, Franklin, maybe even New Orleans or areas right to the south of New Orleans, seeing the center of this system move my road. You're still not sleeping, girl. How do you live? I sleep, but last night I didn't sleep that much. I went to sleep at 1:30 in the morning, so don't judge me. But we're here, okay? We're talking about this tropical storm Bertha. Okay, so as we head into Thursday morning, Wednesday night, this could potentially be the area that could be seeing this system directly. I think most of the models right now, even though this is showing it going towards Texas, most of the models right now, honestly, are showing it arriving like as a tropical depression or something very, very weak. So that would be the good news there unless things change, right? So that's why it's important to subscribe. Make sure that you are up to date with everything going on with this system. And here we go. These are the spaghetti models. They're kind of thin, but you could kind of see most of it. Most of the models are kind of taking this towards southern Louisiana, and then the remnants of this system heading towards the Houston area, right, the Galveston area, but as a much weaker system. Now, we do have to talk about the areas that do have the watches and warnings in effect right now, basically along the entire Florida panhandle into Alabama. So the entire Alabama coastline, Mississippi coastline, and portions of southeastern Louisiana are currently under that tropical storm watch at this time. So that basically means that in the next 48 hours, you could be seeing some of that activity start to ramp up for this area. I think, like I mentioned, that the worst would be for portions of southeastern Louisiana in terms of the brunt of this system. Again, not going to be anything too crazy, around 50-mile-per-hour winds at its peak when we're talking about tropical storm Bertha, okay? Now, we could, even though it is going to be a weaker system, we could potentially be seeing some storm surge. So basically, that's when the waters get pushed towards the coastline and it causes flooding. And it's not flooding due to rain. This is flooding due to the winds being strong around Bertha and pushing all of that water of the Gulf on shore, right? So we've seen really bad cases of storm surge. In this case, the peak storm surge forecast, if things line up, right, could be between 2 to 4 feet here between the Alabama-Florida border and into portions of southeastern Louisiana until the mouth of the Mississippi River. So this could be obviously dangerous, 2 to 4 feet. I mean, I'm 5'2", so that means it would like come up right here on me. So that obviously isn't great, but that's only if things line up. I don't think that this is going to be anything too crazy, but if things line up, 2 to 4 feet here in this area, Lake Pontchartrain, 1 to 3 feet of storm surge could be possible from Morgan City, Louisiana, into the mouth of the Mississippi River in southeastern Louisiana, 1 to 3 feet, and then 1 to 2 feet between the Alabama-Florida border into Indian Pass, and then Indian Pass into, I'm going to try my best to say the name of this city in Florida, Chassahowitzka. I think I got it. I'm a Florida native, so I should be able to say these names, right? 1 to 3 feet of storm surge at the most, okay? This is when we're expecting the winds to arrive. So potential tropical storm force winds at its peak 50-mile-per-hour winds right here in Louisiana, slowly obviously arriving. So by the time that we reach, let's say overnight, we're talking about portions of the Florida Panhandle into tomorrow morning, seeing some winds, some gustier winds, some tropical storm force winds potentially arriving by that time. By Tuesday afternoon, so tomorrow afternoon, reaching portions of the Alabama coastline. Stay away from Georgia. Yeah, it should be staying away from Georgia. So that's the good news there. If right now it's just outer rain bands that are currently hitting Georgia, southeastern Georgia, to be exact, at this time. And then as we head into Wednesday, like I mentioned, so Wednesday morning into Wednesday night, reaching Louisiana, and then the strongest of the winds, it'll really be Thursday night, or I should say Thursday early morning. So Wednesday night into Thursday early morning with the strongest of the winds arriving at that time. Now, I did mention about the fact that we could be seeing some flash flooding. So as we head into tonight, these are the areas that could be seeing some flash flooding because of the rain, right, that we're already seeing right now. So if you're just joining us on the live, I'm going to go ahead and show that once again. So that is the radar. So we are I'm going to press play on that. We are already seeing some rain across Florida and across Georgia, even parts of Alabama, Louisiana, seeing some of that rain, New Orleans as well. So as we head into the rest of tonight, I am concerned with a flash flood risk, an isolated flash flood risk for this area here from, this would be southwestern Florida. So southwest Florida into Tampa Bay, and basically all up into the Florida Panhandle, into Mississippi, Alabama, as well as Louisiana here, including New Orleans. Let me see if there's any flash flood warnings currently in effect for this area. I don't think so. Let me see if maybe if I pull up here. No. Okay, so nothing in effect right now, but we could be seeing that as we head into the overnight hours with these outer rain bands moving in. Okay. Thank God my Georgia pines can't handle it right now. Well, where in Georgia do you live? Because we are seeing some rain right now. For tomorrow, flash flooding that is going to be possible from the Florida Panhandle into Alabama, Mississippi, as well as Louisiana once again. So same places, New Orleans, Mobile, Tallahassee, with that risk as we head into tomorrow. Then as we head into Wednesday, that risk does go up. So this would be a level 2 out of 4 risk for potential flooding for Wednesday, and then level 1 out of 4 for New Orleans right into Mobile, right, as well as Franklin. And then lastly, on Thursday, this flash flood risk is going to extend into Houston, into the Texas coastline. Okay, you live close to Thomasville. Okay, yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, and by the way, really quickly, you guys, another thing, as we head into tonight, or what we were seeing throughout the day today, I should say, was a risk of seeing some tornadoes. I don't think we saw too many, so that's the good news there with those outer rain bands, but a lot of times you do have that risk of seeing some isolated tornadoes with those rain bands coming on shore. Okay. Now, another thing we have to talk about is the risk of seeing some rip currents at the beaches. So very dangerous rip current risk as we head into tomorrow. I'll pull up tomorrow instead of today because today's pretty much over. If you live pretty much anywhere here in red, so basically if you live along the Gulf Coast here, except for the Big Bend area of Florida, we do have that high rip current risk due to Bertha. That is going to continue. So this includes Tampa Bay. This includes places, for example, like Fort Myers, into Mobile, into Pensacola Beach, for example, all these areas with that rip current risk. So I would completely avoid heading to the beaches. You know, you might say, oh, okay, cool, it's not raining too much. We're only seeing intermittent rain bands. I don't know if you surf, you know. No, you guys have to be really careful avoiding the waters along the Gulf Coast due to Bertha. And by the way, I wanted to show you guys also a better picture of the spaghetti models. So you are noticing that a lot of them cluster them right here over southeastern Louisiana. This is an area that's, as we know, unfortunately, prone to flooding. So that's why as this thing continues to move in, I think that we're going to be seeing that risk going up. And that's why, for example, on Wednesday, we have a level 2 out of 4 risk of seeing some flash flooding versus tomorrow, where it's just a level 1 out of 4 risk. So most of it bunching up right here. And then right after that, kind of meandering towards Texas, but being on the weaker side. Okay, let me see. Oh, and by the way, also, I'm going to show you guys some of the models. We're going to go over that. But if we go ahead and take a look at this, this is the model intensity guidance. Basically, the majority of the models have it becoming so TS stands for tropical storm. If there was a chance of this becoming a hurricane at this point in time, there would be hurricane category 1 right above this. But the fact that it's not even on here, that's good news that it is going to stay a tropical storm. But tropical storm doesn't mean no issues, right? Like I mentioned, that flash flood risk, the storm surge risk is still there. And obviously the winds that are going to be on the stronger side with 50-mile-per-hour winds wherever the center of this system moves on shore. Like I mentioned, if this does track a bit further towards the south than what we're expecting right now, it's going to have less land interaction, and that could potentially mean, unfortunately, that this could potentially intensify a bit more. So it all just depends on where this ends up going over the next few days. Okay, so that's pretty much what we're expecting overall. I'm going to go over everything once again, because I know that the beginning of this live stream was a little bit bumpy because we had to figure out everything with YouTube and setting up the live chat and everything. Okay, let me see. Sweet Laura Lay, Tallahassee, anything there? That's where I work. Okay, so I think that mainly for Tallahassee, tonight into tomorrow, potentially even into Wednesday, you're basically going to have a flash flood risk. It's not going to be super high. It's going to be a level 1 out of 4. But because we're going to continue to have those rain bands coming in intermittently, that's going to be my main concern for Tallahassee. But in terms of it actually hitting directly, if you live in the Florida Panhandle, you have nothing to worry about. So that's the good news there. Where I would be worried about a direct hit and maybe some more intense impacts would be southeastern Louisiana, and that would include a place, for example, like New Orleans, where this system could potentially move, the center of the system could move onshore right over New Orleans. So that's where I would be more worried. The Mississippi coast, even the Alabama coast, we could be seeing something a bit more intense there versus a place like Tallahassee. So Tallahassee, I'm not too worried, but just know that the next couple of days, because this thing is going to be moving painfully slow, okay, intermittent rain bands and the flash flood risk that is going to be there. So unfortunately, I wouldn't say completely clear skies tomorrow into Wednesday. No, we're talking about that rain that's going to continue, because this thing is just going to be going way too slow. So already you can see that we are seeing those rain bands in Tallahassee. I don't know, Sweet Laura Lay, I don't know if you live in Tallahassee, but you're probably seeing some rain bands if you live around that area, just coming on and off, on and off. That's what we're seeing right now. None of this is tropical storm force, though. So that's the good news. We're not, and what would make it a tropical storm force winds or tropical storm conditions would be seeing the gustier winds. Right now, the gustier winds are offshore. They're over the Gulf, okay? So that's the good news there. But we are seeing that rain coming onshore. If you live along the Gulf Coast, you're seeing that right now. If I zoom into Tallahassee, that's what we're seeing right now for this area. Places like Port St. Joe seeing that rain, and even into southeastern Georgia. So this thing is really far from Georgia, right? We're not expecting a direct impact, but we're already seeing the rain as this thing continues just to hang out over the Gulf Coast here. Okay, or I should say over the Gulf, right? Okay, so you work in Tallahassee, live in Georgia. How far is that drive, by the way? Or is it really close? Because, yeah, it's not too far, right? It's along the I-10. Right now, also, due to Tropical Storm Bertha, outer bands reaching places, for example, like southeastern Louisiana. I'm going to zoom into New Orleans, right? Places, for example, like New Orleans seeing that rain, Slidell seeing some of that rain right now, right offshore, Port Sulphur seeing some rain. So just intermittent. And that's why, because we're going to be dealing with these rain bands over the next few days, That's why I think the main concern with this system would be flash flood threat. That's going to be my main concern with this. And then gustier conditions, for example, in this particular area here, as we head into Wednesday night, Thursday morning, when it comes to, let's say, the worst of this system, potentially coming onshore with 50-mile-per-hour winds as this continues to move towards the west. 1 hour and 15 minutes away. Oh my God. And I thought I commute 45 minutes to work, so I thought that was a lot. Anyways, let's go ahead and break everything down right now. We're going to go over all the information once again. So if you're just now joining the live, you're going to get all of the information. So here's Tropical Storm Bertha, newly named, second storm of the season. Just really quickly, you're going to notice on the satellite right here, you see how this isn't, how it's kind of like the center's right here, but the bulk of the activity is towards the south. Towards the north, we don't really have that much activity other than what we're seeing over here in Florida and Georgia with that rain that I just showed you guys. That's because the conditions aren't as favorable towards the north. We have a lot of wind shear. Basically, that's, you know, fancy speak for conditions aren't that favorable. The winds and the upper levels of the atmosphere aren't that favorable. That's why we only have the majority of the activity towards the south of the center. So it's kind of asymmetrical, and that's kind of how it's going to look, because it's going to really struggle to stay alive. Unfortunately, though, it is going to stay alive over the next few days, and it is going to be causing some headaches, especially for those of us that live in the southeast, including myself. I live in Florida as well, and especially if you live along the Gulf Coast, that's where we're expecting that flash flood threat, like I was mentioning, and obviously the impacts from the system in general. So that's first and foremost. Now, as of the latest advisory that came out at 8 p.m. here, we have 40-mile-per-hour winds in the center of the system. The good news is that these winds are basically offshore at this time. So the stronger winds not really impacting anybody, but the rain is impacting, like we just saw not that long ago. So since these rain bands they're just going to be kind of just like pestering us over the next few days. If you live in the southeast in general, I don't care if you live in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, we're going to be dealing with this. And then eventually for Texas, we could be seeing some impacts as well. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and show you guys the track right now. This is where we're expecting it to go, right? So this could be moving onshore in Louisiana, southeastern Louisiana, and kind of meandering along the coastline after that. So I would say after Thursday, kind of just, it's going to be really disorganized. So that's the good news. But if it's, like I mentioned, if it stays towards the south, it has a chance of being a little bit on the stronger side. Now, potential landfall of this system would be expected Wednesday night into Thursday morning with 50-mile-per-hour winds anywhere within here. So I would say, like I mentioned, once again, southeastern Louisiana, maybe even, because I've seen some models, and I have to show you guys those too. Maybe even a place like Biloxi, potentially in play here for a potential landfalling system. Areas right to the south of Mobile, Alabama, not, you know, out of the question for a potential landfall. And then after that, things just get really disorganized. And you know what? I'm going to show you guys that right now on some of the hurricane models. I think that that's going to be important to show you guys so that you guys aren't too worried. But there's so many variables to this. So like I mentioned, things could change. That's why it's important to subscribe. If you haven't already, please make sure that you go ahead and subscribe. I'm Jessica Fernandez, by the way. I haven't said this in the whole stream, but meteorologist. I worked on the news for 8 years. Now we have this YouTube channel, and this is my forte. I love talking about hurricanes, tropical storms, anything that has to do with the tropics. And so, yeah, we're going to be covering that over the next few days with the, you know, Tropical Storm Bertha, and then thereafter if we have any more storms, and I'll be able to answer all of your questions. It's a hard drive, yeah. I bet. Listen, like I said, I complain with 45-minute commutes. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys, this is the HWRF model. This is one of the hurricane models that we use. Here's the latest. So basically this, it's kind of going to be meandering right around, hovering right around 1,000 millibars. So nothing crazy strong. That's the good news. This is as we head into Wednesday morning. So for example, this system does have it landfalling, sorry, this model, I should say, does have it landfalling right here. This would be between the Mississippi, Alabama border, right? And not even, and the center of the system, not even coming on shore here in Louisiana. Obviously bringing some impacts. This would be by Wednesday morning, but this is just one model. All the models say something different. And then after that, kind of riding the coast. That's what this current model says, riding the coast, crossing southeastern Louisiana, ending up around the Gulf Coast. But this one does show that even as we head into Thursday and Friday, because it stays over land, it stays disorganized, and then eventually it'll dissipate. That's why as of right now, models aren't going crazy about Texas. It's mostly going to be something that's for Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana coastline in terms of direct impacts. Okay, so that's one model. All the different models say something, have their own take on what could happen. By the way, if I start lagging, if you guys could let me know, that would be awesome. Let's go with this one. Okay, so this one has a bit of a southerly track. Let me move this a bit more towards the I was gonna say towards the north. Jesus, meteorologists speak. Let me move it up on the screen so that you guys can see it better. Here we have the HMON model. This has a more southerly track on it, okay? So as we head into the next couple of days, kind of meandering into tomorrow, right? Gaining some strength. So this one does become stronger. This is the HMON model. So what did I say to you guys? If this stays further towards the south, it's going to have the chance to become a bit stronger. So here we drop it down into 988 millibars, okay, which would be on the stronger end, maybe potentially trying to get to category 1 status, right? So no lag to the south. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Platinum Swords. So stays towards the south, right? A bit on the stronger side, maybe a stronger tropical storm, trying to approach category 1 status. And let me move this a little bit this way. It's better. Trying to get there, but as it moves closer to southeastern Louisiana, comes on shore as a tropical storm. Nothing too crazy, right? And then after that, this just becomes super disorganized. Sort of just meanders over Louisiana, sort of just meanders over Texas. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're expecting. And then after that, just kind of falls apart. So that's the HMON. So you see, one has it moving on shore in Mississippi and Alabama. The other one has it moving on shore pretty much right over southeastern Louisiana. And by the way, these are hurricane models. This is what I like to look at. This is, we could look at global models, but when we already have a form system like this, the best thing to look at is the hurricane models here, because they have a better grasp of what we could expect, okay? Now this one is a mess. The HAVSA model, let me see. I was expecting you to say towards the north as well. Listen, like I said, I'm going to try my best to get a good night of sleep tonight so that tomorrow when I go live, I'm more coherent instead of talking about to the north instead of saying moving up. Anyways, I'm going to show you guys 2 more hurricane models. Here goes the HAVS-A model, okay? So kind of just, for lack of a better term, jiggling around the Gulf Coast. See, it has it going towards the panhandle of Florida. The next frame is further down towards the south. So I don't think that this has like the best grasp on what's going to happen with this, because you see how it's kind of going up and down, kind of making us a little bit dizzy. Okay, anyways, this system kind of has it struggling with shear, not kind of falling apart a little bit right towards the south of Louisiana. Maybe a tropical depression, tropical storm, right? And then just kind of hanging out around Louisiana. So yeah, this isn't, it's basically showing that it's not really going to be a formidable system or a form system, kind of just falling apart, okay? So different takes. Remember, these are all just going to give us different takes on what could happen. The HAVS-B model is kind of showing something similar. So I don't even want to show you guys this because this is like a disaster. I don't even understand how you're going to understand it. We'll wait until the next run, okay? Because it's, look, one frame has it under Louisiana, then it randomly has it above Lake Pontchartrain. We're not doing this. Let's stick with the first 2 that I showed you, just so that you guys have an idea. If you want, we could also take a look at a couple of the global models just to see what they're saying. Let's see. Let's see if any of them have, let's say, a stronger solution. I don't think so. When I say solution, I mean, outcome, right? The models are drunk. Platinum Swords, listen. Yes, I don't know what is going because that was happening earlier today. Sometimes these things malfunction. Here goes the GFS model. Okay, tropical storm status as we head into Wednesday. Speaking of Jessica, where is the world famous red Solo Cup? Listen, you guys thought I was gonna forget the red Solo Cup? We're here. Of course, it's water. It's just if you're new here, I promise you, my mom came over yesterday. I had no cups, like real cups, like the ones that you buy that you wash afterwards. I don't like washing dishes because I'm lazy. So we have, cups and plates that you can throw away. That's what I do here. Okay. I hate washing dishes. Actually, I had some dishes in the sink because it was like pots and pans, that type of stuff, because obviously you can't throw those away. My mom helped me clean them because she's amazing. She's the goat. Anyways, but the red Solo Cup is here. It's always gonna be here. Actually, I should take a sip. Hold on. Hold on, let me see the chat really quick. Rolando Contreras. Hi there, Jessica. Welcome back. Yeah, I'm back. Listen, we're here. It's hurricane season. We got to talk about these things. Solo Cup for the win. Red Solo Cup. I feel you. Welcome back. Can I tell you something? Go ahead, Rolando. Okay, really quick though. Let's continue here. The GFS has it coming on shore to Louisiana as a tropical storm, skirting the coastline there. Okay, and then kind of falling apart before it ever gets to Texas. So that's the good news there. I'm not really worried about Texas at this point in time. Like I mentioned, things could change. Things change all the time, but I don't think we're going to have anything too crazy. Now, hold on. Let's take a look at the Euro. This is the Euro model, okay? The Euro model has it moving onshore over here, basically on the Florida-Alabama border. Okay, as a weaker system because it's going to move north sooner. So this might be even a tropical depression, maybe a tropical storm moves onshore, and that would be Wednesday morning. That's what this is showing. Okay, then it just kind of meanders, and then a system picks it up and moves it up towards the north and east. And by the way, like I said, if I lag, please let me know because this is my first time running these models and I'm not connected to an Ethernet cable. We're just going off of plain old Wi-Fi that I share with the rest of my building. So let me know. Let us continue though. This is the Euro AI model. Last year didn't do bad, and the year prior it didn't do bad. Let's see, Euro AI. Okay, moves on shore or right towards the south of southeastern Louisiana as a tropical storm, maybe a tropical depression, and then something very weak moves into Texas. Okay. Let's take a look at, we can look at the AI GFS model. We'll look at a couple of these just to see. Okay, this has, yeah, so pretty much weaker solutions here with the global models. It's not bad to look at the global models. It's just obviously the hurricane models are going to have a better grasp on what could potentially happen. The Canadian model having it move on shore basically near Pensacola. So these all have different solutions. Icon model, which isn't a bad one. Okay, so the Icon model has this moving onshore in southeastern Louisiana as a tropical storm, maybe even a tropical depression, but probably a tropical storm. And then heading towards Texas as maybe a tropical depression or storm. Okay, so that's what we're seeing overall with these. Okay, now let's come back. Let's come back to my program over here so we can talk about all of the impacts that we could expect. Let me come back over here. This time I didn't disappear because last time I disappeared and there was no audio. How long have I been live for? Okay, 43 minutes. That's not bad. So let's continue. Here are the spaghetti models. So each line represents a different trek that this could take. I think a lot of them are going to favor southeastern Louisiana. That includes New Orleans, right? That includes, let's zoom in here. Port Sulphur, for example, La Rose, Houma, Franklin, all these areas potentially seeing a landfalling system. New Orleans isn't out of the question either, with 50-mile-per-hour winds. And by the way, because, we could be seeing tropical storm conditions, maybe this even comes on shore. Maybe this even comes on shore in any of these places from, I would say, Pensacola into New Orleans. So anywhere from the Florida Panhandle here, right towards the south of Tallahassee, into places like Pensacola, Mobile, Gulfport, and right outside of New Orleans here, we do have that tropical storm watch that is currently in effect. And obviously, as we get into tomorrow, that could be upgraded. These could be extended. This could be upgraded into a tropical storm warning, right? So that's what we're seeing right now. And on top of that, even though this is a tropical storm, it's not a hurricane so far. We're not expecting it to become a hurricane. We could still see some storm surge, okay, unfortunately. So we're talking about storm surge anywhere from 2 to 4 feet. That, if everything lines up and at high tide, we could be seeing 2 to 4 feet of storm surge here from the Alabama-Florida border. So this would include, right towards the south of Mobile, into the Mississippi coastline and into southeastern Louisiana. 2 to 4 feet potentially of storm surge for this area. And then outside of that, anywhere from 1 to 3 feet, stretching into Morgan City, stretching into Chassahowitzka. I said that correctly, I think. And then places, for example, like Pensacola into Indian past 1 to 2 feet. So nothing too crazy. Remember, storm surge isn't flooding due to rain. It's flooding due to the winds from the system pushing all of the water from the Gulf onshore, right? And causing some flooding. So we're talking about it. If worst comes to worst, right along the coastline here in Alabama, Mississippi, and southeastern Louisiana, we're talking about 2 to 4 feet of the water level going up that much above normally dry ground, which is why we do have some storm surge watches that are currently in effect at this time. Okay. Let me see, Rolando. So far, the FIFA World Cup 2026, I'm the fan of Team France. I'm Team Colombia. I'm Colombian. You get what I'm saying? So, yeah, we didn't play that great, but we got kicked out of the World Cup, but it's okay. It's okay. And the World Cup, Spain won. That's fine. Whatever. I tuned out as soon as Colombia was out of it and USA. Anyways, Miss Payton 29, do you think there is any chance of it making to hurricane status? I don't want to rule it out, okay, because it's going to be moving kind of slow over the Gulf of Mexico. If this moves, let me go back really quickly and then we'll continue to talk about all this. I don't want to completely rule it out. As you saw there with one of the hurricane models, it kind of drops down into the 980 something millibar. What does that mean? The intensity gets kind of close to category 1 on that one hurricane model run. Now, those hurricane models, they change their mind all the time. We're going to be watching those over the next few days as we go live, right? But I don't think it's completely out of the question. I think that if this manages to stay far enough south, it avoids too much land interaction. Maybe it might have a chance to become a category 1 hurricane, which a lot of times stronger systems like a category 1 hurricane might have the tendency to push towards the north a bit quicker, which means we might see some changes in the track. But as of right now, everything points towards a tropical, like a mid-range tropical storm without ruling out category 1 status. We'll have a better idea of that as tomorrow unfolds. They're going to have hurricane hunters flying into the storm, getting back the reconnaissance data. We'll have a better idea then as we head into tomorrow, right? And especially into Wednesday. We just have to see how this, because look at it on satellite. It's asymmetrical. Most of it, the center is here, but most of the activity, it's like kind of like cut in half right here. You get me? Most of the activity is down here right towards the south of it. So obviously it's struggling with some shear. So that just means that the winds in the atmosphere aren't very favorable for this at this point in time. But you guys have seen this time and time again. Things can change so quickly. One moment things look like this. Tomorrow it blows up and becomes stronger. So I don't think it's a high chance. If I had to put a probability on it, I would say 80% chance it stays a tropical storm. Nothing too crazy. Highest risk, I think, is going to be of flooding for mostly Mississippi, Alabama coastlines, as well as southeastern Louisiana. But that's what I really think, right? So 20% chance that it becomes a hurricane, 80% chance that it's just a tropical storm, and we don't see anything too crazy out of this because, we are in El Nino. That does, increase wind shear over this area, which is what the forecast is for this hurricane season for the Atlantic Basin in general. So I don't want to take it off the table, okay? So that's why it's important, if you haven't subscribed, that you go ahead and do so. That would be amazing. I haven't even been checking to see who has been subscribing or not. Because we're going to be obviously on top of this and on top of all of the changes. So if things change tomorrow, we're going to talk about it tomorrow, and you guys will be able to ask me questions. That's the good thing about me being a smaller creator. I actually see everything you guys say, so it's not like a gazillion people typing at the same time. So I can answer any questions that you guys have and show you guys things for your specific area as well. Um, Let me see. I'm ready. I love hurricanes. I love hurricanes as well. How is the storm able to keep itself together when it's so structurally insecure? I mean, because, okay, one of the things that it does have in its favor is the water temperature. That's one thing that, so on one hand, right, the environment isn't that favorable, right, because of the wind shear. But on the other hand, it does have something else, which is the very, very warm waters here in the Gulf. It's like a soup over here, like I always say. So that is going to give it the fuel that it needs to try to, survive. But obviously, eventually, once wind shear takes over and this thing falls apart, which hopefully it does, but it doesn't seem like it's going to over the next couple of days. But maybe as we head into Thursday, maybe Friday, it starts to fall apart a bit. Then obviously it'll be overtaken by the wind shear. Just, on one hand, things are unfavorable, but then on the other, things are favorable. So that's why we're even seeing this pop up right now so early in the season. Okay. Let me see. Oh, what did we leave off on? Okay, the peak surge. That's what we were talking about. Excuse me. So potential, yeah, it's like a hot tub outside. Listen, I live in Southeast Florida, Miami area. It is way too hot. I can't. I get in my car after work and it's burning in there, and way too humid too. Excuse me. So as we go ahead and take a look at the tropical storm force winds here and the arrival of them, here's what we're expecting. So as we head into tomorrow morning, we're talking about portions of the Florida Panhandle, feeling some tropical storm force winds potentially. And then as we head into Tuesday afternoon, that's going to reach Alabama coastline. Tuesday night, Mississippi coastline. By Wednesday morning, starting to feel the effects in southeastern Louisiana. By Wednesday night, as this thing starts to ramp up with its speed, right? We could be feeling that in western portions of the Louisiana coastline in terms of the tropical storm force winds. But if this does end up coming on shore, it'll probably be in southeastern Louisiana, and it'll come on probably Wednesday night into Thursday morning in terms of the biggest impacts, the strongest winds with this system. Okay. And because this thing is going to continue to just kind of be like hanging out in the Gulf of here, we're talking about the potential of seeing some excessive rain. What does that mean? Flash flooding. Flash flooding is going to be possible for these areas over the next few days. For tonight, because obviously we are already seeing some rain, as we could see right here. That's the rain that we're already seeing, right? We do have that risk of seeing some flash flooding as we head into the overnight hours because of what we're seeing right now. So anywhere from Tallahassee into southeastern Georgia, really along the entire Gulf Coast here in Florida, into the Gulf Coast in Mississippi, Alabama, southeastern Louisiana. That's where we have the chance of seeing some flash flooding. As we head into tomorrow, it's mostly going to be from the Florida Big Bend into New Orleans, southeastern Louisiana, once again, with that risk. Now, Wednesday, as this thing makes its closest approach to land, right, or makes landfall in Louisiana, the risk of seeing some flash flooding goes up. So here in the yellow, that's a level 2 out of 1 risk for flash flooding. In the green here, we're talking about the level 1 out of 4 risk for places like Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Franklin into Mobile, and once again, still for portions of the Florida Panhandle. Okay. And then Thursday, I'm going to zoom out as this thing continues to move towards the west, we're talking about the flash flood risk all along the coastline here from the Big Bend of Florida, even into Texas, right? As the remnants of this system, or maybe this is still a tropical depression, maybe it's still a tropical storm, but I doubt it. Moves into Texas, we're talking about places like Houston, New Orleans, with the chance of seeing that flash flood risk, okay? Rip currents are going to be possible as well. So I would completely avoid heading to the beaches over the next couple of days. For tomorrow, for example, high rip current risk all along the Florida coastline here, the Florida Gulf coastline, I should say, even into portions of the Alabama coastline as well. Okay, so that's what we're seeing right now. And in terms of the spaghetti models, here we go. You're going to notice, I think we are probably going to see a landfalling system here because every line represents a different model, right? A different track. So I think Louisiana, southern Louisiana, you're likely going to see impacts from this in terms of the direct impacts, but all of us in the southeast are already seeing some impacts, and we're going to continue to see them as this continues to move towards the west. I think the intensity is more than likely going to stay tropical storm intensity. I know this is a confusing graph, but basically, normally speaking, if there was a chance of this becoming a hurricane, you see how this says TS, tropical storm? Above it, it would say category 1, category 2, or category 3, or whatever. But, it doesn't even get out of that. Now, we can't completely rule out the chance of this becoming a hurricane. I just think that it's unlikely at this point in time. I would say 20% chance of it becoming a category 1. And I'm going to show you why, because we do have one model, one of the hurricane models that kind of has it a bit more intense and taking a bit of a different track than what we've been seeing here. But for the most part, 80% chance that this stays a tropical storm, with the biggest risk being, I would say, flash flooding. I think that that's going to be the biggest risk. Now, let me show you, I think it was the HMON model. I'm going to show that to you guys really quickly so that we can go ahead and talk about that. So here goes the HMON model, okay? This one has it, I'm going to back up real quick. As we head into, let's say, right here, boom, I'm going to stop it right there. This would be Tuesday night or Tuesday afternoon. This drops it down to 988 millibars, okay? So once we get into the 980 something millibar category, that kind of starts to get close to category 1 status. So we're talking about a hurricane. So I wouldn't completely rule it out. This does have it moving into southeastern Louisiana. So that's what we're seeing with that one. Let's see the HWRF one more time here. Yeah, so this keeps it a bit weaker. Tropical storm more than likely that moves into the Alabama, Mississippi coastline, kind of skirts the coastline and then moves into Louisiana. So that's what we're seeing with this in terms of that. But for the most part, I'm going to bring you guys back over here to my weather program. Where are you, weather program? Okay. So for the most part, more than likely just going to be, excuse me, a tropical storm status. All right. So that's what we're seeing right now with this system. I wouldn't be too worried with this. We do have a lot of wind shear with this. It's kind of just attacking the system, and that's why it just looks so lopsided, really. Because normally speaking, when you have a system, there will be clouds all along here. It's just really, if you cut it in half, it's like the southern half that's really seeing the majority of the activity at this point in time. Okay. Rolando, by the way, Jessica, I already asked you, what is your favorite season? Summer. I love summer. It's my favorite, even though it's hot. And where I'm from, South Florida, it's way too hot over here. Guys, I'm only 6 subscribers away from 2,500 subscribers. So if you guys could subscribe, that would be amazing. I would love you forever and ever. Anyways, so that's what we're seeing right now. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask me. But for the most part, how long have we been live for? Let's see. Almost an hour. 58 minutes. But yeah, guys, we're already dealing with some of this activity right now. We're already dealing with some rain, especially over here. Let me see if I turn on. Let's see if there's any watches or warnings for flash flooding. I doubt it, but I don't really see any right now. That's the good news. So, yeah, it's already raining all along this area. Southeastern Louisiana, Florida Panhandle, and really the Gulf Coast also, right now with all of that activity. For me, spring, fall, and winter is my favorite season. So you like all of them except for summer. So you don't like the one that I like. All right. But yeah, there's our system, you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and go live once again tomorrow. Well, if there's any updates, maybe it's not completely out of the question that this becomes a category 1. That's why it's really important to subscribe. Please make sure that you subscribe, other than the fact that, obviously you would help me to get to 2,500 subscribers. But I'll keep you guys updated on this and let you guys know what we could expect. You guys could ask me questions. And we'll go ahead and go live once again tomorrow and talk about any updates, see if there's any changes in the track. A more southerly track would mean that it would be on the stronger side potentially. So yeah, we'll go ahead and talk about all of this once again tomorrow and bring you guys all of the updates. So I will see you guys tomorrow. I hope that you guys have an amazing night. And thank you guys once again for just joining me. By the way, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jessica Fernandez. I'm a meteorologist. I worked on the news for 8 years, covering weather. I have a master's in meteorology as well. So I'm not just some crazy person talking about weather. I have experience in this. So yeah. But please go ahead and subscribe. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you once again for joining me.